So the first thing that I want to talk about is tell my story within like 6 or 7 minutes. And then, so I'll ask people, I'll show a picture of the lady putting the gas in the Tesla, and I'll say, if this Tesla could speak, what do you think it would say? And then they'll tell me, and I'll say, yeah, no, really, if this Tesla could really speak to this lady, what would it say? I don't take gas, right? You're putting in the wrong fuel. And this is what would happen if she put gas in there? Well, the Tesla wouldn't run well, right? I mean, probably break. So this is the first concept that I want you to understand, very important, is that we have to put the right fuel in the car, or else it's not going to run. And how many of you have driven a Tesla here? Okay, when you drove a Tesla, what was your impression? Did you like it? Did you think it drove well? Yeah, right. What would be some words that you would use to describe how it runs? Smooth, powerful. And what's one thing about the fuel, right? Do you know? Does Tesla have an exhaust pipe? No, there's no exhaust pipe. Why is there no exhaust pipe from a Tesla? Because there's no waste. There's no waste when it's burning. A very clean burning car. And that allows it to be very efficient, very powerful, a smooth running machine. And I'm here to let you know that you all have that Tesla inside of you. You all have your inner Tesla, and I want you to be able to tap into that. And how do you think that you can tap into your inner Tesla? What we were just talking about with the fuel. If you put gas in the Tesla, it's not going to be a clean running machine, right? The same goes for our bodies. We all have that inner Tesla, but we need to put the right fuel in, or else we break down eventually. It takes us a lot longer than it would a Tesla, but eventually we break down. So I want you to really just, for right now, just visualize driving in a Tesla, smooth, clean burning fuel, very efficient, very powerful. That's you. That can be you. I want that to be you. And so we have to put the right fuel in you. Now, how many of you here have eaten a vegetarian or a vegan diet? Raise your hands. Okay, and how many of you did that and then stopped? Okay, keep your hands raised. Okay, so who would like to tell me why you stopped eating that vegetarian diet? Okay, and someone else? Okay, great. Now I want to ask, how many of you here have eaten a paleo or a keto diet? Okay, now how many of you have done that and stopped doing it? Okay, tell me why you stopped eating a keto or a paleo diet. Awesome. Okay, so what's going on here? We have people who've eaten a vegetarian diet and continue to eat it. Not everybody stopped, right? And same thing with paleo and keto, and those are very different diets, right? What's the difference? What are the big differences between, let's say, a paleo and a vegetarian diet? So no meat, right? But in terms of the fundamentals, what nutrients are different? What are the three? So we have three main macronutrients. There's protein, fat, and carbohydrates. So what's different about those diets? The vegetarian diet has probably, for most people, ends up being lower in protein and maybe fat. Okay, so think about this for a minute. We have people who are doing real well on a vegetarian diet, people who are doing well on a paleo diet, and people who don't. How is this possible? How is this possible? I mean, the people who talk about the vegetarian diet, they act like it's the best diet ever, right? Do you ever talk to someone who really loves the diet that they eat? What do? They love it, right? They talk about it all the time. They tell you, oh, you should eat that way. So what does this mean? Does it mean that we're all the same? No, we're all different, right? We all have different types of fuel that are ideal for us. When we talk about putting the right fuel in, for the Tesla, it's just electricity. But for humans, we have three different fuels that we use: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And How much of each of those we each need is individual. You are unique. So I want you to run like a Tesla, but I want you to think of your own. You are a custom built Tesla that takes only a particular type of fuel. You, and you're one in a million. When you're the most, there's only you in this world that takes that exact type of fuel. And when you fuel yourself that way, you run like a Tesla. Okay? So we're talking about the macronutrients, which are protein, what else? Fat, and carbohydrates, right? So for a moment, I want you, how many of you here have built a fire before? Okay. So when you built a fire, what was the first thing you put? Like, let's say you're at a campground, you put, putting stuff on there in a little ring, fire ring there. What do you put in first? Newspaper, right? And then what would you put? Twigs, cardboard? Okay, great. How long would a fire burn if you just put those things on? Maybe a few minutes, right? What do you need in order for that fire to burn for a long time? You need wood, right? You need logs. So I want you to think of, right now, I want you to think of protein and fat as those logs, okay? And for some people, like the people who are eating a paleo or keto diet, they need more of those protein and fat logs because those are the slow burning fuels. They keep the fire burning, right? So, and what's the third macro that we talked about? There's protein, there's fat. What's the third one? Carbohydrates, okay? So carbohydrates are a little tricky because a carbohydrate is not always going to be a log. It's oftentimes going to be the newspaper and the twigs. And that's going to be like a donut. Do you think that's a log or a newspaper? It's newspaper, right? Any kind of carb that's very simple and doesn't have a lot of fiber is going to be more like a newspaper, okay? So anytime that you eat simple carbs, you're basically starting the fire and it's going to run out. You're going to start the fire and it's going to run out. So every time you eat, if you have a bagel for breakfast and then you have a yogurt as a snack and then you have, a salad for lunch, you just had 3 little mini fires, but there are no logs. And we need the logs. So I already mentioned that protein and fat are logs. And carbs can be a newspaper or they can be a log. So what do you think makes a carbohydrate more of a log? Fiber. Yes, fiber. So when we talk about the macros, I tend to tell people to think about it as protein, fat, and fiber. Protein, fat, and fiber. Those are your logs. Now, the thing is, as I said, you are a unique person. So just as if you are a custom built, handmade Tesla that runs beautifully and perfectly, the only way you're going to run perfectly like that is if you have the right amount of fuel for your body, not for somebody else's. So just the amount of protein, the amount of fat, the amount of fiber, that's unique to you, nobody else. So if you want your car, your Tesla engine, they don't have engines, to run and there's no exhaust and you're running clean, efficient, and powerful, you got to put the right fuel in. But you got to know what the right fuel is for you. So how can you possibly know what the right fuel is for you? Well, do you think maybe you should ask an expert? How many think that you should ask an expert? Raise your hand. Okay. And where would you find this expert? Okay, this is kind of a trick question. Because the expert, what I want to tell you is that the expert is you. There is no outside expert. The expert is you. Now, I'm a nutritionist and I'm telling you this. It's a big secret I'm revealing. You have all the answers. Just like that Tesla knows it does not require gasoline, you know the fuel that's going to work best for your body. Now, someone like me, I could help you. I could help guide you through the process, but I can't tell you what's the right fuel for you. Only you have that wisdom, and that's called body wisdom, and you all have it. And that's the way that you're going to become a clean burning, smooth running, powerful Tesla, is by understanding exactly how to fuel your body. And so how do you know, though? So that expert is you, right? But how do you know? What do you think you could do to understand how your body, what fuel works best for your body. Anybody? Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of you have eaten a meal or eaten a food and then afterwards not felt so good? Raise your hands. Okay. What about you did you not feel so good? Okay, so then I go through the 6 factors, and I have to find little analogies for each of these: energy, mental clarity, hunger, cravings, mood, and GI. So that's going to take me through Eat Nutritious.